10 of the biggest WWE Wrestlemania botches that left Vince McMahon angry backstage. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Number 10. Maven misses a key spot. And Maven's YouTube channel has offered fans a fascinating insight into the career of Maven, and the Tough Enough winner has allowed fans to see behind the curtain with compelling stories and insider information. One of Maven's most notable stories centered around WrestleMania 18, and according to Maven, during his hardcore title match versus Goldust, he messed up a spot with a dropkick and a trash can, and this enraged Vince McMahon backstage. I remember Goldust picked the trash can up and I was supposed to dropkick, and it was one of those thin aluminium trash cans. So the idea was that when I would kick it, it would completely cave in, look amazing, and Goldust would take the bump. So I go to do the spot, jumped, and completely missed. Whiffed the entire trash can. The moment I got behind Gorilla, Vince is irate. He's yelling at me and I'll never forget it. He said, "You have one move and you fucked that one up." Interestingly, this would be Maven's only WrestleMania match, and it was mostly known for his now infamous botch. Number 9. Mickie James' inappropriate gesture. And Mickie James vs Trish Stratus at WrestleMania 22 is mostly known for its sheer quality and for causing a big commotion backstage. During the match, James would perform a suggestive gesture, and although this was very much in line with James's outlandish character at the time, Vince McMahon was seething backstage. When James went backstage following her major victory, she was screamed at by McMahon for going off script. James would offer detailed insight into this confrontation during an appearance at WrestleCast. I came back through the curtain and Vince was really mad. In the moment, it had seemed amazing to me. I thought, Vince will love this. Crass was the word I got. He didn't like it at all. He told me, "We're gonna have to go back and edit that out. Do you know how much time this will take?" This was my first WrestleMania. My mum was in the audience. I'm freaking out already. I'm back through the curtain and I'm already in tears and an emotional mess. And I got yelled at. At the moment would be quickly edited out of subsequent replays of the show, and it was a miracle that James didn't lose a push with immediate effect. Number 8. WrestleMania Blade Job. At WWE have had different rules when it comes to blading depending on the respective era. In the early 90s, blading was outright banned in WWE, and if wrestlers were caught blading, then WWE management would take immediate action. The WWE title match at WrestleMania 8 featured Ric Flair defending against Macho Man Randy Savage. In the match, Flair bladed, and this forced Vince McMahon to fine both wrestlers a substantial amount of money. The fine caused a lot of controversy, as Bret Hart also bladed in his match against Roddy Piper, but McMahon was under the impression that Hart's cut was achieved accidentally, or the hard way, and Hart didn't use a bladed instrument. According to Hart in his autobiography, he and Piper avoided a fine by being discreet about the matter, whilst Flair and Savage were fined $5,000 each. So me and Roddy had the match, and of course, I was discreet. No one really saw what happened, and all of a sudden, I'm bleeding. Luckily for me, it wasn't a real gusher, but I remember when coming back to the dressing room, we had to pretend that we were mad at each other. He was apologizing and telling me it was an accident, and he didn't mean to kick me, because we had put on a big charade so we didn't get fined. So then 10 minutes later, Ric Flair and Macho Man go out there and have a juice fest. Anyway, WWF fined them. Both of them, I think, got $5,000 each fined for having blood in the match. And I remember they said, "What about Bret and Roddy?" And they said, "Theirs was real, so we never got fined." This policy would be embedded into WWE as they pushed through the 90s. However, by the time the Attitude Era came along, it was common for a lot of the top matches to feature blading in some capacity. Number 7. PG Blood. A bloodshed in the PG era was somewhat rare during Vince McMahon's time in charge of WWE. However, for Roman Reigns vs Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 34, the two men decided to go off script and deliver blood in the match to amp up the intensity. It was reported that the blood was legitimate. However, it was said that the blood came from stiff elbows from Lesnar as opposed to a blade or a capsule. Naturally, due to the two men going off script in the main event of WrestleMania, McMahon was livid. PW Torch would even report that this led to confusion backstage, as WWE didn't shy away from showing Reigns' bloodshed on camera. Last night after the Roman Reigns vs Brock Lesnar match, multiple sources tell PW Torch that there was a heated exchange between Vince McMahon and Brock Lesnar. Our sources say that McMahon was upset at the excessive blood that came presumably from stiff elbows rather than blading. We are told the blading was not approved ahead of time and McMahon was irate. Others are skeptical or confused about McMahon's apparent anger over the blood, only because WWE didn't shy away from showing Reigns bleeding so heavily. Now, it was appreciated that Reigns and Lesnar tried to make the match exciting, but ultimately this didn't help the quality of the match, and it was seen as one of the worst WrestleMania main events in WWE history. Number 6. Announce table mishap. Now, speaking of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar going off script, they would also deliver a spot on the German announce table, and it was reported at the time that this also wasn't approved ahead of the match. It was said that the announce team wasn't prepared for it, which is extremely dangerous. Commentators traditionally always know what key spots are planned for the match, and it's vital that they know that they're going to be potentially involved in any physicality or drama. It was evident that nobody knew that the spot was planned, as it looked awkward, and even Michael Cole's commentary call had a sense of concern. Number 5. Michael Cole's WrestleMania Showcase. Vince McMahon always had a bizarre obsession with the Michael Cole vs Jerry Lawler rivalry. Despite himself and the fans loathing the WrestleMania 27 matchup, McMahon was the one who insisted that it went on for several more months, and it was almost as if he was getting a kick out of booking the match. McMahon had every reason to hate the WrestleMania 27 matchup, as it was terribly executed and wasted 15 minutes of the pay-per-view runtime. Cole wrestled the match like he'd never seen wrestling before, and a lot of his offense was either timid or botched. Speaking to Corey Graves on the After the Bell podcast, Cole would discuss Vince's reaction to the infamous matchup. I got carried out of there a bloody mess. As I go to the back, I walk to the back and I'm like, man, I thought it went pretty good. I go to the back and I look at Vince, and Vince looks at me and goes, that is the worst thing I have ever witnessed in 60 years. So that was my WrestleMania match, but the check cleared and I'm still undefeated. The match had zero business getting such a strong showcase at WrestleMania. Hopefully the days of Cole wrestling on the grandest stage are definitely over. Number 4. Chair shot to the head. Now, under PG guidelines, chair shots to the head are strictly prohibited in WWE, and for very good reason. Thanks to research into CT and head trauma, there's no reason for wrestlers to be taking chair shots for any reason, and this extends to top names such as Triple H and The Undertaker. The two legends decided to deviate away from the script at WrestleMania 27, and they decided to have a chair shot to the head in the match itself. Despite Vince McMahon being extremely close with both men, he was furious, and according to The Undertaker during an interview with ESPN, fines were quickly issued. Even after they banned the chair shots, I'm wrestling Triple H and we're figuring like, I'm the most tenured guy here, you're his son-in-law, surely we can get away with this. Nah, he fined our ass too. I remember getting my check for WrestleMania and there was a big minus on there, and I was like, son of a bitch. I called him right away. I said, did you get fined? And he was like, yeah, I got fined too. And I was like, what the hell good is it to be his son-in-law or his most tenured guy? But he had to set an example, right? And that's what he did. McMahon was justified in his actions. As The Undertaker pointed out, McMahon had to set an example and show the locker room that the chair shots weren't going to be permitted for anyone. Number 3. The Undertaker gets carded out. Now, it wasn't exactly uncommon for Vince McMahon to regret booking a match finish in a certain way, and he was prone to acting with anger when the match finish didn't go to plan. For the aforementioned Triple H vs Undertaker match at WrestleMania 27, the finish saw The Undertaker get carted off following a brutal war with the game. McMahon had a strong dislike for the match finish, and McMahon believed it made The Undertaker look weak and inferior. Now, this was actually a rare W from McMahon, as although the match stole the show, this was the only element outside of the chair shot that fans criticized. It really did make the dead man look weak, and it was extremely bizarre to see such a mythical character get carted off like it was a regular wrestler. Number 2. Kevin Owens misses the mark. The Kevin Owens vs Chris Jericho match at WrestleMania 33 wasn't exactly bad, and it didn't feature any notable botches. The issue was that the bout was flat and really kind of underwhelming. The match was the second match on the show, and although the match was initially rumored to be a world title match, it was now for the US title, and the fans had lost interest in the rivalry. Both men weren't at their best in the match, and Vince McMahon knew it. When Owens got backstage, McMahon refused to even look at Owens. That's how much the former WWE chairman hated this match. McMahon would eventually break his silence to verbally berate the former Universal Champion, and according to Jericho during an interview with TalkSport, McMahon claimed that it was the single worst match in WrestleMania history. He told Kevin it was the worst match in WrestleMania history, and never heard anything about that. When I came through, Vince went with a thumbs up, so I think he was on Kevin's case at the time. I think he was going through a phase where he thought maybe Kevin had some extra weight that he wanted him to lose or wasn't happy with his work as a heel. The crazy thing is, Jericho also claimed that McMahon gave him a thumbs up when it came to the match, so Jericho is probably correct in the sense that McMahon had a personal issue with Owens. And number 1, Tombstone on the floor. But when The Undertaker went 2-0 at WrestleMania 8, it was supposed to be a defining moment for the dead man's WWE career, as he had defeated the legendary Jake the Snake Roberts on the grand stage. Sadly for The Undertaker, he walked backstage after the match to an irated Vince McMahon. McMahon hated the spot with the tombstone piledriver to the outside, with specific hatred coming from the fact that the fans couldn't get a good view of the spot. According to the dead man on his podcast, McMahon was so angry that the veins were popping outright from his head. I'm thinking that was pretty cool, that was pretty vicious. I come backstage and the old man's waiting on me. He said, "What the hell was that? Why in the hell would you tombstone him on the floor? Nobody could see it. He just eviscerated me. The veins are all in his head," and then it dawned on me. I was like, that son of a bitch, he got me. And McMahon did have a point. Due to WWE's limitations when it came to production and camera work at the time, it was hard for them to get a good shot of it, and it was definitely something that should have been perfected prior to the show. But there you have it folks, 10 WWE Wrestlemania botches that left Vince McMahon angry backstage. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.